Pleasant morning to everyone. I am glad to share my data about the Philippine President from the administration of Ferdinand Marcos up to President Rodrigo Duterte, where many laws are implemented, passed, or signed. And let's see how this administration brought a great achievement during their reign and what are the important laws they signed for the betterment of our country. Ferdinand Marcos, Major in the 14th Infantry Division of the U.S. Armed Forces in the Philippines. He declared martial law on September 21, 1972 after the People Power Revolutionary in February 1966. He was ousted from power and active in exile in Honolulu, Hawaii. Marcos empowered and increased military population to fuel his dictatorship intense in the armed forces. He led the Philippines in 1986 to become one of the most indebted countries in Asia through World Bank funds. As one of his rationalization for the declaration of martial law, Marcos said that there was a need to reform society, bagong lipunan, by placing it under the control of a benevolent dictator which would guide the undisciplined populace through a period of chaos. The Marcos regime instituted a youth organization known as Kabataang Barangay, which was led by Marcos' eldest daughter Aimee. By virtue of the extraordinary legislative power granted to the president, Marcos had the constitutional authority to enact laws during the period of martial law. This law came in the form of presidential decree. There are 2,079 laws he signed and passed, and these laws are denominated as presidential decree. Some of these laws include the following: Presidential Decree Number 1, recognizing the executive branch of the national government. Presidential Decree Number 1-A, amending Part 4 on the economic planning and program implementation of the Integrated Reorganization Plan by reconstituting the membership of the National Economic Development Authority and regaining the National Computer Center in the office of the President. Presidential Decree Number 1-B, amending Part 2 on departmental organization of the Integrated Reorganization Plan by allowing more than one undersecretary of a department under certain conditions. Presidential Decree Number 10, reducing the percentage tax on stock translations. Presidential Decree Number 1003, creating the National Academy of Sciences. Presidential Decree Number 1003-8, creating the National Academy of Science and Technology. Presidential Decree Number 1002, amending Section 92 of Presidential Decree Number 464, otherwise known as the Real Property Tax Code. Presidential Decree Number 1004, exempting the toll fees collected from the Quezon and the Baguio-Bontoc Halsema Toll Road for the operation of Presidential Decree Number 711. Presidential Decree Number 1012, authorizing the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office to hold a lottery drawn on February or March 1977 and every year thereafter, exclusively to finance the various projects of the Population Center Foundation Inc. Marcos is the only president who had a record of building more schools, roads, bridges, hospitals, and infrastructures than all former presidents. Marcos assisted 107 institutions in undertaking nuclear energy work by sending scientists to study nuclear science and technology abroad, and provided basic training to 482 scientists, doctors, engineers, and technicians. At the end of his administration, Marcos taught us to disdain and reject bullies. He taught us to disdain leaders who flaunt their wealth. He showed us that there is a big difference between discipline and fear. Lastly, Marcos showed us that friendship with powerful world leader is no guarantee that one could hold onto power indefinitely. Corazon Aquino, first female president of the Philippines and Asia simultaneously. She is known to bring back democracy in the country through a peaceful revolution known in the world history as EDSA Revolution. Aquino initiated the abolition of the repressive 1973 Marcos Constitution and brought about the making of the new Constitution of the Philippines for the Filipino people. Aquino promulgated two landmark legal codes, namely Family Code of 1987, which reformed the civil law on family relations, in the Administrative Code of 1987, which recognized the structure of the executive branch of government. Another landmark law that was enacted during his tenure was the 1991 Local Government Code, which devolved national government power to local government units. As president, Aquino oversaw the drafting of the 1987 Constitution, which limited the power of the presidency and re-established the bicameral Congress, successfully removing the previous dictatorial government structure. Her economic policies focus on forging good economic standards among the international community as well as disestablishing Marcos-era foreign capitalist monopolies, emphasizing the free market and responsible economy. Further, the Aquino administration also sought to bring back fiscal discipline in order as it aimed to trim the government's budget deficit that ballooned during Marcos' term through privatization of bad government's assets and the regulation of many vital industries. It was also during Aquino's time that the vital economic laws such as the Build, Operate, Transfer Law, Foreign Investment Act, and the Consumer Protection and Welfare Act were enacted. Cory is a leader without self-interest, a leader who sincerely cares about the welfare of the country. Everything she does is sensible and obvious to women. She has the strength to be simple and honest in a cynical world where leadership is equated with force in deception. Next, Fidel Ramos. During his reign, the country was cited as Asia's next economic tiger because he brought back economic growth. He is the only Filipino who received British knighthood from the United Kingdom. There are 229 structural or reform laws that he enacted during his term. Most of these laws were addressed to education, such as the following: an act abolishing the national college entrance examination, an act providing for reforms in the legal education and the law establishing Center of Excellence in Teacher Education, Science and Technology Scholarship or the RA number 7687, where the Science and Technology Scholarship Law, which will finance annually the education of poor, talented, and deserving students to be a part of a pool of the country's man as the main battleground of the future. The grant of any scholarship award from the funds shall be applied only in the field of science, mathematics, engineering, and such other areas in the undergraduate or postgraduate courses such as may be provided for in the rules and regulations promulgated by the DOST and the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports. Dual Training System Act of 1994 or the RA number 7686, an act to strengthen manpower education and training in the Philippines by institutionalizing the dual training system as an instructional delivery system of technical and vocational education and training, providing the mechanism, approaching funds, and for other purposes. RA number 7796, the TESTA Act of 1994. It shall formulate a comprehensive development plan for middle-level manpower based on a national employment plan or policies for the optimum allocation, development, and utilization of skilled workers for employment, entrepreneurship, and technology development for economic and social growth to be known as the National Technical Education and Skill Development Plan. RA number 7653, the new Central Bank Act, which provide for the establishment of an independent monetary authority to be known as the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, with its primary objective being the maintenance of price stability. RA number 7638, Charter of the Department of Energy to prepare, integrate, coordinate, supervise, and control all plans, programs, projects, and activities of the government relative to energy, exploration, development, utilization, distribution, and conservation. Next, Joseph Estrada. During his time, the MILF Camp Abubakar headquarters was reinforced by the military and supported against the charter change. He was among the Magnificent 12 who voted for the termination of U.S. military bases agreement and removal of U.S. forces and all allied armamental present in Clark Air Base and Subic Naval Base. his term, Estrada ordered to the National Telecommunication Commission by the adoption of Filipino language-based radio format known as MASA. Named for his iconic MASA, all radio stations adopted the MASA format effective since 1998. After his term, in 2001, several FM stations adopted the MASA format nationwide until this day. Estrada's administration main focus is on sciences and technology, where the administration developed Jeepney Era, ang pasada ng Pangulo Radio TV program to help the government feel the pulse of the direct line of communication between the President and ordinary Filipino. The Estrada administration's program boosts science and technology in the country to make this more responsive to challenges of globalization and its thrust towards agricultural modernization. Some of his laws enacted are the following: RA number 8759, an act institutionalizing a national facilitation service network through the establishment of a public employment service office in every province, key city, and other strategic areas throughout the country. RA number 8748, an act amending RA number 7916, otherwise known as the Special Economic Zone Act of 1995. There are two major legislation that he signed, which are the RA number 8749, Philippine Clean Air Act, which was designated to protect and preserve the environment and ensure the sustainable development of each national resources, and the RA number 8792, Electronic Commerce Act of 2000, which outlaws computer hacking and provides opportunities for new businesses emerging from the internet-driven new economy. Next, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Second female president of the country and first and only female vice president of the Philippines so far. Gained higher economic growth than the past three presidents before her EVAT law was implemented during reign as Philippine president. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo supported the Framework Plan for Women, which aimed to promote women's economic empowerment, protect women's human rights, and promote and strengthen gender-responsive governance. Arroyo also contributed to the sector of health, where she formally launched the 3 billion universal health insurance coverage that will provide either free or subsidized hospitalization and other medical assistance to government and private sector employees and indigent families. Some of his laws enacted during his administration are the following: RA number 10144, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Edwards A. Artis. RA number 10143, Declaration of Policy. It is the policy of the state to train, mold, enhance, and develop capabilities of tax collectors and administrators to help improve their tax collection efficiency and to become competent and effective public servants for the national interest. RA number 10142, it is the policy of the state to encourage debtors, both juridical and natural persons, and their creditors to collectively and realistically resolve and adjust competing claims and property rights. RA number 10141, an act converting the Santa Catalina, Pamplona, Tanay City provincial road in the province of Negros Oriental into a national road. RA number 10138, an act declaring protected areas and providing further management, amending for the purpose of RA number 7586, otherwise known as the National Integrated Protective Areas System Act of 1992, and other purposes. Next, Benigno Aquino III popularized the No Wangwang policy. He initiated the K-12 education in the Philippines during his term. Aquino has spread peace in Mindanao through the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Movement. Cybercrime law was born during his term. Benigno Aquino III is noted for his confrontational policy against China, especially concerning the Philippines' approach in pursuing its claim in the South China Sea. He is also responsible for instituting the term West Philippine Sea in 2012 for the eastern parts of the South China Sea, which the Philippines claims to be part of its exclusive economic zone. Aquino introduced reforms on the Philippine education program by introducing the K-12 curriculum by signing into law the Enhanced Basic Education Act in 2013. This added 2 years to the basic education system, which became known as the senior high school stage. President Aquino signed RA 10606, an act amending the National Health Insurance Act of 1995, which mandates the provision of comprehensive health care services to all Filipinos through a socialized health insurance program that will prioritize the healthcare needs of the underprivileged, sick, elderly, PWDs, women, and children, which free healthcare services are provided to indigent. Some of the laws he enacted include the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act 2012, and measures that provide Filipinos with the reproductive health information, service, and care necessary to planning and raising families in a responsible and safe manner. He also signed and passed the Anti-Enforced of Involuntary Disappearance Act, which ensures the preservation and protection of every disappearance Filipino civil liberties by criminalizing enforced disappearance and the unlawful arrest of civilians. Aquino passed the Domestic Workers Act on Batas Kasambahay, which sets the minimum wage for domestic workers in various locales and promotes their rights to human treatment, access to education, and medical assistance. Last but not the least, the Duterte administration. The Duterte administration has been more productive compared to the past government in terms of the passage of vital law. In the past 2 years, Duterte has signed 113 laws, including several priority measures since he assumed office in 2016. On the list prepared by the Presidential Legislative Liaison Office. With the 113 laws signed by Duterte, 39 of it was national laws and 94 was local laws. Among the national laws signed by President Duterte were a ban on all forms of hazing, establishment of national feeding program, and a mental health policy law. The local laws, on the other hand, were mostly measures on establishing, dividing, or converting schools, naming or renaming of roads, and dividing or creating barangay. He signed RA number 10963 Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion Act that allows lower personal income tax to offer higher taxes on fuel, cars, and sweetened beverage. RA number 10931, which promotes universal access to quality tertiary education by providing free tuition in state universities and colleges. Also inked was RA number 11036 that establishes a national mental health policy for enhancing delivery of integrated mental health services as well as promoting and protecting rights of persons utilizing psychiatric, neurologic, and psychosocial health services. The government has also established a national feeding program under RA number 11037. This law mandates the distribution of free lunch to undernourished children in public daycare, kindergarten, and elementary schools to combat hunger and undernutrition among Filipino children. President also signed RA number 10969 providing free irrigation service for local farmers who own 8 hectares of land or less. Other priority measures are RA 11032 on promoting ease of doing business and efficient delivery of government services, RA 10968, an act institutionalizing the Philippine Qualification Framework, and RA 11035, Act of Institutionalizing the Balik Scientist Program. At the beginning of his reign, he started a nationwide campaign to rid the country of crime, corruption, and illegal drugs. He also prioritized infrastructures in spending and initiating the massive Build 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 program. Duterte has pursued an independent foreign policy pursuing improved relations with Russia and China, and lessen the country's dependence on its traditional ally, the United States. He has adopted a more friendly stance towards China compared to his predecessors and has set aside the previous government policy of using Philippine versus China ruling to assert the Philippine claims over the South China Sea and its islands. Based on the report about the law, contribution, achievement, and programs of our 7th President, from Ferdinand Marcos up to President Rodrigo Duterte, I should say that they are all great leaders, and I always owe them because without them, with their laws and programs, we cannot be united as one nation. Through their laws, they also steered us in right direction. I have no right to compare and choose the best law implemented, not only this 7th President, but even our old President, because as far as I know, I am a Filipino citizen who uses my mind to not only to vote, but to see the greatest impact of different laws implemented by our government. All these laws help every one of us for our rights and liberties. Without these laws, there would be no way to set our country's standard. And lastly, these laws not only help our country maintain peace and order, but also to support and strengthen different programs for the betterment of our country. There is no reasons for me to choose what is the best policy or laws that they implemented, because I believe that all these different laws was organized and implemented through a statistical analysis of the country's and its people needs. I should not focus on one or two laws which I love. Whatever laws implemented by our government, I should choose, accept, and follow it as long as it is for the sake and for the betterment of our country. Yes, I definitely agree that I was not born in this world when the other president regime or reign, and there are people who are contradict some of their laws. But I should say that it is better to be guided by our government over than to be guided by our own self or law. Because together as a Filipino, there's no one can help us without each other. We should learn how to think and speak up for the different laws implemented, and if there's a big problem with the law, we should act as a true and responsible Filipino, not to engage in any kind of rally. Let's all be open-minded. When I was born in this world, all president that leads our government, and through learning our history, I met the old president who leads our country, and when I was learning until now, I should say that there is no president lead our country without any issues facing. All of these leaders face any anomalies, but all of them made our country better. Despite all the struggles and anomalies they face, they are still continue their duties and responsibilities. So what we must do as a Filipino is to be fair in judging their administration. Let's be open-minded both of their greatest achievement and anomalies. Let's not just focus on their anomalies.